Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So, in the last class, we had looked at different non-Mendelian behavior, or what we generally call as deviation from the Mendelism. So, that polygyny, codominance, epistasis, all of those were the examples of non-Mendelian behavior. Now, after Mendel studied few things, uh, there were quite a few scientists which studied the different properties of this chromosomal inheritance throughout different species, and then they came to conclusion of quite a few things otherwise which were not inconsistent with what Mendel observed, and that is what we are going to see. And one of such things, though we again might be aware of these particular facts, these are called as linkages and recombinations. Now, so linkages and recombinations, these two phenomena separately, they actually they are related to the inheritance of genes. Then there was this guy called as Thomas Hunt Morgan. So he carried out several dihybrid crosses in the Drosophila. Uh, I assume you would know what Drosophila is. It's a kind of fruit fly. The complete name of Drosophila is Drosophila melanogaster. So I don't know if you are aware, but let me just show you. Uh, Drosophila melanogaster images. So this is one of the organism, like it's literally very small. Usually it's like this tiny. So this picture will give you an clarity of how tiny it is. It's hardly 1 or 2 millimeter in size, and that small these are, and they are inculcated or cultured in the laboratory setup in these flask like things, and like when you zoom out, they look like this. So these are the fruit flies which are very commonly used for various what we say biological studies, and especially in terms of evolution, because they are they still have quite a lot of genes which are common to most of the species. They are again very widely studied organisms. So this Drosophila was used by this Morgan to study several of the dihybrid process and the genes which are sex linked. So Drosophila is a kind of like it's an organism which has separate sexes, like male and females. They are separate, and that way Morgan tried to study what are those sex linked genes which are being passed down throughout the different generations through this dihybrid process. So what he did was he hybridized yellow bodied, that means the body color was yellow, and white eyed females to brown bodied, red eyed males, and then intercross those F1, whatever he got in F1, he intercrossed them. And what he observed was two genes did not segregate independent of each other. Like if you remember the Mendel's principle of independent assortment, the two genes or two traits or two alleles, they separate irrespective of the other. And in this case, what you observed was that was like first thing was they did not segregate, and with respect to each other, and the F2 ratio that deviated from the normal Mendelian ratio, that is 9s to 3s to 3s to 1, he got it something else only. So, and this concluded that genes are linked. We will see what this line means, that the genes are linked, and the process is known as linkage. So let me show you this particular. Where is it? Oh, okay. I guess it will come later. Let me not go jump there directly. So, uh, the likelihood of achieving this parental combination, that means whatever genes the parent had, and the chance of the offspring having the same one, if the two genes are situated on the same chromosome, was relatively higher. That means, let's say gene A and gene B, if they are located on the same chromosome of a parent, then the chance of having them in the offspring generation is also the same, and they will again in offspring be like located on the same chromosome, and as it is they will be passed down to the offspring generation. And this was that chance of having the gene situated on the same chromosome is relatively higher in the subsequent generation, that is the offspring generation, in comparison to the non-parental combination. That means whatever is not present in the parent, that is we called a variation to that earlier. That variation, how it came into picture, that is what is proven here. But that particular part of variation, like where the genes they cross over with each other, that chance is rare if the genes are located on the same chromosome. And the physical connection of the genes was referred to as linkage. So in short, if I have to say what the linkage is, let's say you have chromosome number 1, and within that chromosome 1 you have two genes which are physically located close to each other, right? So you have, let's say, on chromosome 1 you have few tens of chromosome, let's say 100 genes are there in chromosome 1. Now within those 100, let's say we take number 89 and 90 randomly, any number, right? These 89 and 90 number, they are closely located to each other, that is physically they are located next to each other. And the chance of having both 89 as well as 90 in the next generation is much higher compared to, let's say, 90 and the number 10 gene, right? So that is what is known as the linkage. So if the physically the if the genes are physically close to each other on the chromosome, the chance of having them being passed down to the next generation is much higher compared to the non-parental combination, that is the crossing over type of experiment. So again, this crossing over with the linkage we will see further. So there you will get more and more clarity. So the linkage specifically refers to the connection between two closely located genes on a particular chromosome. Then recombination. So linkage is something that is being passed down, which is closely associated or closely located on a gene. Recombination is exactly opposite. Opposite in the sense it rearranges the material. So again, if you remember that meiosis we had seen during the Pachaitin stage of the prophase 1, some part of the gene, homologous pair of chromosome, they exchange with each other. That is nothing but the recombination. So the generation of the non-parental gene combination during the hybrid cross is called as recombination. That means the non-parental gene combination which was not there in the parent has been passed down to the offspring. Now this does not mean that parents did not have it. Parents did not have it expressed, that is what it means. And also variation is one of the reason why this non-parental gene combination occurs, especially during the dihybrid cross, and that is called as recombination. And when the genes are located on the same chromosome, they are tightly linked to each other and they show less linkage, right? And this is responsible for the variation. Again, when we look at the example, probably this fact will get more clarity. I guess this is the one. Like, okay, let me just explain the example because I guess that will give you more clarity. So, for example, let's say these are the two chromosomes which are homologous pair of chromosome, and then there is gene A, gene B. Similarly, there will be A and B, and there another alleles will be present which are recessive here, A, small a, small b, small a, small b. So that way. Now, during the meiosis, when the gamete formation happens, what you get at the end is the same genes which are present in the parent. That is no crossing over. That means no exchange of the genetic material happens in the meiosis phase. And the gametes, whatever are formed, they are exactly same like how the parents were. While in the other case, when the crossing over happens, that is the recombination happens, a part of this red gene is exchanged with the part of the blue gene here. Like capital B will get exchanged in terms of small b, and what you get otherwise is this four different what you say gametes. So that is what is recombination. And like If these are closely associated, then they will not undergo the linkage as such. So now the genes are said to be linked when the genes for different traits are located in the similar chromosome, right? We will say genes are linked to each other when they are associated with different traits and they are located on the similar chromosome, and hence they are tied to each other. So that is when like the linkage occurs, and it is the deviation from Mendelian principle of independent assortment. Like again, in case of Mendel, he expected that the gamete formation happens irrespective of what is coming in the other gamete, but that is not always true. If the linkage is happening, then that gamete formation might be different, and that will be little dependent based on what gametes are being formed. And and it is appropriate to be applied to the genes that are situated on the different chromosome. Like Mendelian traits, they were applicable to if the genes are located on different chromosome, but if they are located on the same chromosome, then the Mendelian behavior is changed. And the term genetic combination actually is described as non-parental gene combination. That means whatever was not present in terms of genetic combination with respect to parent, that is what we call as genetic recombination, and that is like specially observed in dihybrid cross. So linkage in short is the connection between the physically closely located genes, that is linkage. Recombination is exchange of genetic material, and that was not present in the parents like that. So like gene A and B, the B exchange, which was not the case with the parent, right? So that particular type of recombination is explained here. Yes.
Linkage means that two genes in a chromosome which are very close will most probably be together in the offspring.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So that is what is linkage. Okay, so again, there are various types of these linkages, and the theory of linkages that has been explained here. So the genes located on the same chromosome tend to be inherited together. That's what Pratham said just now, right? So that there is more chance that even if the crossing over happens in that case, right? But then because they are closely located, the whole chunk of that particular gene along with the adjacent genes gets transferred to the next offspring. Again, then it depends on quite many factors, but to simplify that fact, if they are located on the same chromosome, they mostly inherit together. And this phenomena of the inheritance of the genes being together and retain the parental combination, that is known as linkage. So the genes which are involved in this linkage phenomena, they are called as linked genes, and the characters which are expressed by this linked gene, they are called as linked character. So there is a phenomena because it happens because of the linked genes, and it expresses the linked characters. So there is just a specific terminology being used for these three different things. Now all the genes which are located in a single chromosome form one linkage group. Now, like I gave you an example, let's say chromosome 1, and it has 100 genes on it. So all these 100 genes, they form one linkage group because they are closely associated with each other. Not necessarily chromosome 1 and 100, they are close to each other, but at least the other chromosomes, let's say 49 and 50, or 60 and 61, these chromosomes, they are closely associated. And if you talk of whole chromosome as a single unit, it forms one linkage group because they are ultimately closely associated with at least their adjacent genes. And the total number of linkage groups in an organism corresponds to the haploid set of chromosomes. So for example, in human, if we have 23 set or 23 pairs of chromosome, that means we will have 23 linkage groups, right? So because one chromosome is forming one linkage group, if we have 23 chromosome in haploid number, like especially in gametes, and if it is diploid, we have 23 pair, we will form 23 linkage groups. And this can be explained with this three specific example. Independent assortment, I'm not doing it here because we have done enough of it while we are studying the Mendelian dihybrid cross. So that is same here also. And these two are the specific deviations from that Mendelian behavior, that is linkage without crossing over and linkage with crossing over. Linkage without crossing over, that means same parental combination is going to the offspring, and linkage with crossing over, that is referring to the variation that is being caused in the offspring compared to the parents. So that these all these examples we will see. So the linkages, they assist in maintaining the newly improved variety. Now because the same genes are being passed down from parents to offspring, if the variety is newly improved variety, that will be maintained. So that maintenance is possible due to the linkages. While crossing over, on the other hand, forms the source of variation. Now, because of the crossing over, some parts of the genes, they are getting exchanged. And because of that, it forms the source of variation, and then it is leading to the production of the new varieties of that particular organism or species. So, now again, so there is an example which is given here of the same example. It is being explained. So let's say, for example, two pairs of genes, A and B, they are located on the different pairs of chromosome, right? And they show independent assortment while entering the gametes during meiosis. Now, independent assortment means if the capital A is going from one gamete, the B which is going, it can be capital B or it can be small b, and it is independent of capital A, right? So that's what was the principle of independent assortment, and that way the gametes will be formed during meiosis, and as a result there will be four types of gamete. So capital A with capital B, capital A with small b, small a with capital B, and small a with small b. So these were the four types of gamete which are formed in equal proportion. That is what we have learned in Mendelian genetics. Now the variation is here. So when the two pairs of chromosome, they are present on the same chromosome, that is the genes are linked, right? That means they are closely associated with each other. The time of gamete formation during meiosis, linked gene fails to separate and there is no crossing over because they are so closely associated with each other. They do not undergo crossing over, and in the absence of crossing over, only two types of gametes are formed. That is, whatever a parent had earlier, the same gamete will be transferred as it is to the offspring, and they are formed in equal number, that is 50-50%. So they possess only parental non-crossover gene recombination, which is 50% of capital AB and 50% of small ab. Yes.
So, but four gametes are formed, right? Like you said earlier.
Correct. For here it is saying two types of gametes, not two gametes. Yeah. Two types of gametes means only capital AB and small ab. Yeah. I hope the difference is clear.
Okay, so both of them are homozygous.
Yeah. No, not homozygous. But yeah, they will only be having, one will be having dominant if the parent, one of the parent was dominant, and it will only have so this combination is probably okay. Let me say it here itself. So one of the parent was homozygous dominant for both the alleles, and the other was homozygous recessive for both the alleles. And then whatever is being passed down to their gamete is only this 50% of capital AB and 50% of the genes, sorry, gametes will have small ab genes. Yeah. And then when the crossing over happens, that is when a different types of 4 types of gametes are being formed again. Now, this is something similar to your independent assortment, but depends on what kind of crossing over is happening. So that types we will see later again, because we are going in a sequence. So there are various types of crossing over which we'll see, and this is something similar, but they might have non-parental and new recombinants. So the expression pattern will not be same like the parents, and that is why it is again a different non-Mendelian behavior. Here, gametes, they will be formed in the similar, but if they are linked genes and they have undergone crossing over, how many linked genes are gone to the one of the individual through that gamete formation is based on how many genes are linked from that particular gamete. And based on that, if the crossing over happens, those particular gametes will be expressed and the phenotypes of those offsprings will be different. So this is what exactly explain the same
So
yes.
the previous, don't they mean that they are not linked?
No, here.
Yeah, I mean, if they are linked, then like most probably they won't grow crossing over. Right?
No, say it again.
Like if they are linked, then like in most likelihood they won't cross over.
No, like let's say, let me show you here again. Let's say at this crossing junction, there are these linked genes, right? Which is obviously true. There will be few which will be linked genes at this crossing junction. And if that is getting exchanged, it is linkage with crossing over. Did you get that?
Okay, so wherever the crossing over takes place, there have to be at least two pairs of linked genes.
There will be always some. Okay, so that is what was independent assortment, linkage without crossing over, and linkage with crossing over. So that's what we saw in these 3 examples and the diagram. Again, here it does not mention the independent assortment wala diagram, but that you already know from the dihybrid crosses. So that is not included here. And one fact that I forgot to mention here is these are non-recombinant and recombinant. Non-recombinant ones are same like parent. You see, capital A, capital B, capital A, capital B. So this gene is same like parent. This gene, middle two ones, both are recombinant. That means they have exchanged the portion with each other. So both of these will be recombinant. And again, the last one, that is the blue one, that is small a, small b, which is again like the original parent. And that is again a non-recombinant. So recombinant ones are the ones which have exchanged some genetic material, and non-recombinant ones are those which are same like the parents. So that is just the difference here. And here both, or rather all 4, they are like non-recombinant because they are exactly same like your parent. And Pratham, to your question which you asked back, so there are 4 gametes formed, but there are only of 2 types, either with capital A, capital B, or with small a, small b. So that is 50% of this red, 50% of this blue. So that way they will only form the same type of genes without any crossing over. Okay, now here like we are going a bit into the history of linkage. So after Mendel studied, there were these 2 guys, Bateson and Punnett, which we had heard earlier also. Bateson in terms of his experiments, and Punnett with respect to his Punnett square. So this linkage phenomena was first observed by these 2 guys in 1906, again in the pea plant, but that was described as coupling. It was earlier called as coupling. And what they did to check this particular fact, a test cross between F1 purple long, that is purple is the color of this what we say, let me see, this one, yeah, the flower, and long refers to the size of the pollen grain. Yeah, so there was purple color of the flower and the long is the size of the pollen grain. So these are two different phenotypes that they have taken to study in a dihybrid cross. And the other phenotype of this was, or the recessive phenotype of this purple and long was red and round. So let's say when a test cross between F1 purple and long, that is now this they are talking of the heterozygous dominant, but let's say there was this purple and long homozygous parent, and okay, let me just do it here itself. Yeah, so this is purple and long homozygous parent, that is P generation, and red and round, that is another homozygous recessive parent. When they were crossed with each other, what you get is the F1 generation heterozygous purple and long pollen grains, right? So what you have is the heterozygous phenotype, capital P small p, and for long you have capital L small l, again it is heterozygous. So what you get is the heterozygous individual in F1 generation. Now when this heterozygous individual is crossed with, so oh, just a minute, go away. Yeah, so when this F1 individual, which is heterozygous, that is capital P small p, capital L small l, and a double recessive for red and round, that is like another parent. Yeah, so again let me show you. I'm going back and forth, but this parent, that is small p small l, when these two are crossed with each other, that is what is being said here. So a test cross between F1 purple and long heterozygous is crossed with the red and round, that is homozygous recessive small p small l. They did not produce the expected ratio in F2 generation. Again, expected ratio refers to 9s to 3s to 3s to 1. That was a Mendelian behavior. And in that case, when same F1 same F1 offsprings, they were crossed with each other. So that means if we cross this offspring that is produced in F1 generation, when it is crossed with the self, then we get 9s to 3s to 3s to 1. But when this is crossed with something else, then the this dihybrid ratio, or the ratio that you get at the end, is changed, and the same ratio was not observed. And this actually produced the four combinations in different ratio. There were four different combinations as it was seen in the regular Mendelian dihybrid cross, but it was in a different ratio and not in 9s to 3s to 3s to 1. So what Bettison and Punnett suggested, that the alleles coming from the same parent, they tend to enter the same gamete and they are inherited together, what is known as genetic coupling. So what did they mean is, let's say if you talk of this phenotype, so when you cross this with this, again I assume you would remember the dihybrid cross and different gametes which are formed. So this will form four gametes, that is capital P, capital L, capital P, small l, then small p, capital L, small p, small l. These will be the four gametes which will be formed by this, and this will form only one gamete, that is small p, small l. One gamete as in it will form four, but they will be all of same type, that is small p, small l. And when these two are crossed, what you get is these four phenotypes. Again, genotypes you can simply calculate it, but phenotypes that you get are these, that is purple flower and long pollen grain, which is ultimately of your parent generation. Then purple flower and round pollen. Then this is a kind of a different phenotype, that is recombinant one. Red flower and long pollen, which is again a recombinant one, and the red flower and round pollen, which is again like your other recessive uh, parent from the P generation. And if you look at the numbers or the ratio, the parent combination, first and the fourth one, these are maximum in number. So ratio wise, this is 15 as to 1 as to 1 as to almost 4 or 5 you can take, right? So that is the ratio that you get, which is not similar to 9s to 3s to 3s to 1. So what these people they concluded is, if the F2 generation is more like the parent generation, that most of the offspring, they are like parent generation, that means they are retaining those genes. So the alleles coming from the same parent, that is from the parent generation, tend to enter the same gamete, and they tend to be inherited together. So this particular combination, again, purple and long, purple and long, higher number, red and round, red and round, last again higher number, right? Compared to these recombinant ones, right? And that is what is being said. They enter the same gamete and they tend to inherit together, and that is why you get a different ratio and not the same Mendelian ratio, and that is what is referred to as genetic coupling. Similarly, the genes coming from two different parents, they tend to enter the different gametes and to be inherited separately and independently. And for example, in this, when this F2 cross was done, like what you get is totally different than all three of them, right? So this is purple and round, right? There was no purple and round here, so that is non-parental. Then there is red and long, which is again non-parental, right? So these two phenotypes, they are coming from two different parents and they tend to enter in different gametes and to be inherited separately and independently, which is known as a repulsion. It is repulsion does not literally mean they repel each other, but they tend to not come close to each other like genetic coupling. So that is what is repulsion. Okay. Any question here? Anyone?
So why does this happen?
Sorry?
So why would this happen?
Why does it happen? Because the parents, they have the same genotype, no? Here, what we did in Mendelian cross was, this was crossed with similar genotype, right? What we are doing here is, this is also the possibility that pollination of this particular flower can happen with this particular flower. So in nature, you have equal chance of happening like this.
Yeah, so like why is the observed ratio different from the expected ratio?
Because there are more of these genotypes, no? The dominant ones, there will be more of these. So if you compare the combination, this P, if it goes with first P, in that case also purple color will be generated. And if you the first capital P, if it goes with the other gamete, that also gives purple color. So the majority of the flower will have purple color here, and that is what you see.
But it'll be equal, right? The second P can also go both ways, so it'll be 50-50.
Okay,
Because
if
the
you
second,
uh,
if the
uh,
second P, like if you see the second P, the small one, if it goes with either of them, it'll be
why don't you try the dihybrid cross of this, and then you tell me what comes out.
okay. Okay, I'll try it. So.
Yeah, so maybe like just, and you can try it with this combination as well, the other way, and then you will see the difference in the ratio. Yeah, so that is specifically with respect to the different phenotypes that we are getting. Yeah, and it will not be in the same ratio what we assume it to be. Anyone else, any other question? Okay, so I assume then that is clear with respect to the linkage. Now, this Thomas Morgan, again, he continued his experiment with the Drosophila melanogaster. So, and he observed that the genes which are located on the same chromosome, they produce the same parental recombination, right? That means whatever parent had, it is being transferred uh, to the offspring as it is, than compared to the non-parental, that is whatever new recombination is happening, that was not the case always. And for this he used this Drosophila melanogaster, and he used different traits. Again, he also tried various experiments and he concluded that coupling and the repulsion phenomenon, that is genetic coupling and genetic repulsion of the two genes, these are the two aspects of the linkage. That means in some cases genetic coupling will happen, and in some cases the genetic repulsion will happen. So that is, in short, in some cases you will get the same parental combination, in some cases you will get the non-parental combinations. So that is what he means by coupling and repulsion.
Sir, I did it. Only 4 of them are coming out. So it's
No, now you did it with 4, right? Now assume from this,
sir, it's 4 into 4, 16, right?
right, with this gamete, you will have 4 gametes. And the possibility of each gamete with all 4, what you have done is probably only with 1 gamete.
What, sir?
This,
Yeah. So the final thing will be the into 4. So the ratio remains the same.
but what is the ratio you got?
Yeah. So like it's a simple one. So for the first there are 4 gametes. For the second there's only 1 gamete. So there are only 4 possibilities. And I got in this case I got 2 purple, 2 red, and 2 long and 2 round. Like that's the genotype. So P, capital L, small l, capital P, small p, both small p and 2 capital L's and all small.
But how will you get 2 capital L's or 2 capital P's here?
Uh,
Which
no, sir. I didn't get 2 capital L's. I got 1 capital L and 1 small l. Yeah.
because, but then in that case you should get this one only, these 4 phenotypes.
So, but all of them are like one. So, like there are equal number of purple and red.
Correct. So now again, what we are looking at is, we are just looking at the possibilities, right? When they did the experiment, they looked at the possibilities, what should they get, and they looked at the byproduct, that means what they observed. Are you getting
Yeah.
the difference?
Yeah.
Right?
So, well, like theoretically, it should be this, but they observed something else. That's why I'm asking, like, what happened? Like, why are they getting it different?
Oh, okay. Sorry, then I misunderstood your question. So what they observed is obviously the higher number of these two. And then they concluded the statement that the parental combination passed down to the next generation.
But here they've written the ratio also wrong, right?
Why?
Because aren't we getting uh, like there, if you see the purple flowers are 12, and there are 4 of the red ones, but we are getting 50-50, right? I mean, if you do it.
Months?
No, sir, they expected. This is observed. So in expected, if you see the ratio part, the right hand one, like the rightmost column,
Right.
the rightmost, yeah. So there, the purple flowers, the total amount of purple flowers are 12, and the total amount of red flowers are 4. But like if you do it, you'll get 8, 8.
8?
8 purple and 8 red.
No, why?
So there's one P which can go with either P's, and there's a small P which can go with either of the small P's.
That is a Mendelian trait, no, Pratham?
Yeah, so well, the ratio they were expecting was Mendelian, right? And that's why they proved Mendelian thing wrong.
Correct.
So the expected ratio shouldn't be 12:4, but 8:8.
No, I didn't get why 8 has to be there.
So because if you cross it if you cross it according to Mendel, and if you separate the genes that way, you'll get 8 heterozygous P and 8 homozygous recessive,
When
like 8
uh,
heterozygous dominant. Yeah,
when you cross with Mendel's, they have crossed this with the same heterozygous individual. They haven't crossed with the homozygous recessive individual.
but like what was written earlier on the slide, and
Here,
we said, yeah. So it's written a test cross between F1 purple flower hybrid and double recessive red and round.
that is the experiment of these guys.
Yeah, and they said that that did not produce the expected ratio.
Ah,
And they've written that, right? The expected ratio is 9:3 to 3:1.
correct.
But we are getting a different ratio.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
So we're not doing a Mendelian cross, right? So how can they expect that same ratio?
No, I mean, we are doing a Mendelian cross, I think.
No, Mendelian cross is F1 generation with another F1 generation, right?
Correct.
They're doing F1 generation with the parent, one of the parents.
Yeah, yeah. But isn't, I mean, you can do the cross with whatever. The thing that we do in our syllabus is with, I mean, the distribution of the genetics. If you draw the Punnett square, you'll get whatever flowers you take, right?
So that is what they have proved, no, Pratham, that it is not always that this Mendelian ratio is maintained. Depends on which parents they are involved. It is not the Mendelian ratio which is followed always, but rather it is the original parental combination is followed. So whatever those parents are, that parental combination is followed more in the offspring. That is what they proved.
Yes, sir. So regarding that, so the expected ratio, if they have to prove like Mendel's ratio wrong, they have to say that the observed ratio is not equal to the expected one, right? And the expected ratio, the actual expected ratio, like what we are getting and what they are getting is different. And both of them should have been Mendel's, right? Because that's what they have to prove wrong.
I'm not getting what you are trying to say here.
So the expected ratio that they've written, is
Huh?
it like Akshay said, like both F1
Expected ratio
generations
that they've taken here is wrong, basically. That's what we're
yeah.
trying to say.
See, obviously, like now you know both the facts, that's why you are assuming from that direction. But at their time, what they know was only Mendelian's ratio. So obviously they will take that as a reference, and they will think that it is the expected ratio.
So, but like even like in Mendel's times, they knew all this, right? That capital P and small p and all. They had different names. They called them factors, but
Correct.
so like they can't. So well, Mendel said that if you do a selfing in the F1 generation, then you get this ratio. I mean, even if Mendel did the parent and this, of course he'll also get a different ratio, right?
Correct.
So if they are actually doing it according to Mendel's thing, then they should like draw up Punnett square with this, right? The red flower and the
No,
F1 generation.
that is correct. You will see that same ratio when you cross F1 offspring with another F1 offspring. You can do that here also. You will get the same ratio 9:3 to 1. But
Yeah,
that
sir. We're crossing a heterozygous purple and long pollen with a homozygous red and round. So how are you supposed to get the same thing?
no. I'm not talking about crossing between these two. This F1 generation being crossed with another same F1 generation, which is with capital P small p, capital L small l.
Oh, but here you said that they were crossing the F1
Correct.
generation with one of the parents.
Yes, so if you cross with the same F1, that is this cross with this itself, that will give 9:3 to 1. In this case, they have crossed these two, and that is what they are trying to say, that this is not always 9:3 to 1, but it is more of the parental generation, whatever. And if it is crossed with this one, and then you will see more will be like this and like this. and not the recombinants ones, which are these middle two.
So here, I don't think that they've crossed the F1 generation with the parent because it says self-fertilization. So they're crossing with another F1 generation or the same plant.
No, in this case, they have crossed these two for sure.
No, but it says self-fertilization.
no,
Self-fertilization, as in obviously they like the self-pollination. So one plant can have a different flowers.
So I think I agree with what Akshay said. One thing is that it's self-fertilization, and the second is the expected ratio. This ratio can only come when they're selfing. If they did it with the parent and the F1 generation, they couldn't have written this ratio. Otherwise, they are taking an assumption and proving an entirely different thing. I mean,
Means I'm wondering why not?
so they have taken the ratio 9:3:3:1. So whatever they cross, the phenotypic ratio has to be that.
Correct.
Right? Because that's the ratio that they have assumed that they have to prove this wrong. So to prove this wrong, first they are assuming this, and then they are saying the results are different. So we have to get this ratio through Mendelian genetics, and the only way to get this ratio through Mendelian genetics is like selfing the F1 generation. I mean, they can't say that like if you like do self fertilization on F1 generation, like two members of the F1 generation, you get this ratio, and we are doing some other different thing and we aren't getting this ratio, that means Mendel is wrong. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Basically, they're trying to prove Mendelian inheritance wrong without doing Mendelian cross. Obviously, if they don't do a Mendelian cross, they won't get the same thing.
But then now you know that fact, right? Because your logic says that. But then when we have to prove it, that is what they tried to do. They proved it with certain facts by doing certain experiment.
So they didn't do Mendelian cross, and then they didn't get the Mendelian inheritance results.
And of course, like I said, the reason is in nature, you don't always have this brother-sister cross from the F1 generation, right? You can have any random possibility of the cross. And that is when I said, when you do a cross with this F1 with one of the parent or with the other parent, it will produce different phenotypes. And that is what they wanted to prove. And the point is not of the ratio. Point is the ratio is different from Mendel's, whatever that ratio is, but it is more like the original parents. That is the main point here in the linkage and recombination.
So I think two different things have been mixed up here, because the slide says something else and this diagram says something else.
See, the diagram can be faulty.
No, I'm saying they are like, it's not about being faulty. They are talking about two different things altogether. So both of them are correct in their own place, but they might like not be talking about the same thing.
See, I don't usually believe in these diagrams. I just use them for reference. Now, this self-fertilization can be put, whosoever has created this diagram can be can have written it wrong. I can just simply assume it. In that case, this whole thing becomes wrong. So that is when I don't literally refer to each and every point in the diagram.
No, sir. Like not only the self-fertilization, but the last two columns of expected number and expected ratio will also be wrong then.
Why it will be wrong? I don't get it.
So, like, can we like, if you like, can you do the crossing between the red round flower and the purple long flower? You'll get 4 different ones in a 1:1 ratio. Like, yeah.
You get only 4 phenotypes, and all of them it's 1:1:1:1. It's not 9:3:3:1 because you can only get one gamete from the red and round.
Correct, but that you know now, right? And that when Mendel did those experiments, he did not study all those possible combinations.
Sir, but after Mendel, all this was known, right?
So this is known after these guys studied. That is what I'm trying to tell you.
So, like, Mendelian genetics, how you cross over, and like the different factors that are there, like P and L, all these were known when these guys were there, right? I mean, if they didn't know something, how will they prove it wrong?
Correct.
Yeah, so they knew all this, right? They might not know, they might have known it with some other name, but the basic concept of Mendelian genetics and how genes work, like there were factors then, but that way they should have known, right?
But
Because they are doing post Mendelian genetics. So if Mendelian genetics itself was not clear, then
see,
how is that?
according to Mendel, he was right. He just did not completely study it, right? So that was the case because, like I said, he did not try all the possible combinations of crosses, and then he should have ideally given the what we say different, but that did not happen. And that is why these guys, they had a chance to study all of those possible combination, and that is what they said, like it is not always the Mendelian which is true.
Okay, so like you're saying that uh, like Mendelian ratio was 9:3:3:1, but when we cross red flower and purple flower, we get something else. So that's how they prove Mendel wrong.
It's not about Mendel being wrong, it's just about there are non-Mendelian behaviors that are observed as well.
Yeah, so well,
That does
sure.
not mean Mendel is wrong. Mendel is just right in one aspect, but there are quite a few aspects which needs to be checked, and that is what these guys added.
Well, yes, the point is that then if they did this, the observed ratio should have been 1:1:1:1, right?
I don't know, like that would be true statement to say that, but obviously the observed ratio will be much higher because the possible combinations will be different that are actually happening than the expected one there. So that is,
Yeah, so we're agreeing that the observed number is different, but the expected number, what they have taken, is wrong.
no, this they are calculating from this ratio.
So, but that is
Yeah.
not the correct ratio that they've assumed.
Yeah, that works only if you're crossing F1 with F1.
So,
It
since the
doesn't.
assumption is wrong, the whole proof is wrong.
But at that time, they had no other reference, no? So obviously, they will take reference of the Mendelian genetics. They
Okay,
will
so
not take any
this,
reference.
yeah, this whole experiment is to prove something, right?
Correct.
So, can we just say that the whole experiment is wrong then? Because the assumption is wrong?
No, which
Because they didn't know about the right assumption and they took the wrong assumption. So they can't exactly say
no,
they're right now.
which wrong assumption are you talking about?
The expected ratio.
No, it is not wrong. It is true in some case. Like saying it wrong, that is totally wrong. It is true in some crosses.
Yeah, but in the cross that they are considering, it's incorrect. It doesn't work.
That is what I'm trying to say. Like in nature, when you allow that pollination to happen, it can be sometimes self-pollination, which is like how Mendel's dihybrid cross happened, or in some cases it will be like this Bettison and Punnett did. So then both of these possibility, you cannot say that one possibility is wrong and because of this the second possibility is correct, or vice versa. That cannot be the case. Both are right at their own places. It just the reference was taken because that was assumed. That was the Mendel statement that the dihybrid cross ratio will always give 9:3:3:1. But what they observed when they crossed with different individual was this, which is not true. The ratio does not remain same.
But Mendelian only said that statement for homozygote, like the selfing of F1 generation, right? He didn't say that statement for every combination.
Correct. But then that is what he tried to say. And then these guys,
Who tried to say Mendel?
sorry.
So, like, who tried to say this? Mendel. Like, the 9:3:3:1 is only relevant for. Sorry, yeah, it's only relevant for selfing of the F1 generation, right?
Correct.
So, and Mendel knew that.
Mendel knew that.
So he must have written about it somewhere, and so these people would also have known that, right?
Yes, of course they knew.
So, like, how can they say that the same ratio is also true for a different combination? Like, which is the
No,
topic
I
study?
guess what you are getting stuck at is whenever we do experiments in biology, we always take reference of the previous experiment, right? That does not mean that we are totally reliant on the previous experiment. We always have to take reference of something to start with. And here the reference was taken of the Mendel's experiment. So if the Mendel has proved that particular ratio, obviously they will take the same ratio into consideration.
But sir, if you're comparing your results with that previous experiment, which may or may not be related, you might not get the right result for your experiment, no?
Here it's not about right or wrong. That is what I'm trying to say.
Like here, so you are saying that they didn't understand Mendel's ratio fully. So, and like,
Why are you coming to such conclusions?
because they took a completely different one than what we are getting, right? If you
No,
do.
obviously, see what I said is Mendel, he thought of only one particular possibility of crossing F1 with F1, right? And these guys, what they did was they tried to check the possibilities of this F1 can cross with any other variety. Can be from parent, can be from F1, or can be something else. And that's
Yes,
what we have tried to
and like using Mendel's laws of like independent assortment and all that,
Hmm.
like they knew that like a flower like this can be separated into capital P, small p, capital L, small l, right? They
Right.
knew otherwise, yeah. And they also knew that the parent has small p, small l, small l. And they knew how to kind of match them because Mendel also matched them.
See, if you remember, these were the guys who created those laws of law of independent assortment, law of dominance, and so on, right?
But it was Mendel, right?
No, no, no. Mendel just studied it. These laws were developed after that. Do you remember we discussed this part?
So,
Mendel
but
just proved it for 30 years. His research was unnoticed. Then these guys came. Then they made laws, and then
but they just named the laws, right?
sorry.
So they named it according to the information that was already present in Mendel's
Correct.
work, right? So
Correct.
like doesn't matter the name, they knew the concept,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
if they knew the concept, they should have known
Knew
that the
the concept from Mendel's perspective.
yes, from Mendel's perspective, then they should have known that the ratio that they are assuming or they want to prove wrong, that's 9:3:3:1, is incorrect in this situation.
So that is what they did here, no?
Yes, but they proved the wrong thing wrong. They should
No,
have proved.
I mean,
They
I
should
don't
have
know
proved
why you are calling it wrong at all. It is not wrong. It is right in certain aspect. And
yeah, but this is not that aspect, right? So this is a different situation, and in this situation, this is not relevant. Some other ratio is relevant, which they should have proved wrong.
I do not agree to that because this is still a right ratio, but just for the case when F1 is crossed with F1, and that is a Mendelian ratio. And this is non-Mendelian ratio when F1 is crossed with something else. So always we need to take a reference of something from where we are starting the experiments with. And that is what is being done here.
Sir, I think we can continue this in the next class because the juniors are already here.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just didn't realize that.